Let's take a look at the PictureBox. So for this demonstration, we will take a look at the Stickman project. And here we see it. And let's go ahead and just run this. And we have a picture here. So I click on step, that picture changes. If I click on walk, the picture animates. If I stop, the animation stops. If I trip, the figure falls down. And if I rest, the figure sits. All right, so the way this application was created was using picture boxes, image lists, and timers. And notice how the picture box has a visual aspect. In other words, this is the picture box. On the other hand, the image list, I've actually added two image lists here, plus a timer. The image list and the timer do not have visual aspects, and so they appear at the bottom of the design area in something called a tray. So whereas a picture box actually has that visual aspect, an image list is just a data structure that holds images that can be later used in your application in various places, including, of course, the picture box. And the timer has no visual aspect at all. It just allows you to, as the name implies, time events associated with your application. So let's start with the picture box. We go to the properties for the picture box, and we find there's a property called image that is associated with a bitmap. And it turns out there's an ellipsis button associated with images. And what I can do is I can click local resource import, and I can navigate to a file, in this case the file final-2.jpg, and select that, and then that becomes the picture associated with the picture box. And you can see that reflected in the code in the designer. And right here on line 47, you see that there's something called PictureBox1.image. That's actually a reflection of the file final-2.jpg, and you can see that in the resource file here, and there you see PictureBox1.image, and it's effectively a copy of that final-2.jpg file. On the other hand, if we look at the image list, so I'll select that here, and then go to the properties for that image list, you'll see that there is an images property, and that is a collection of images, and that also has an ellipse button. And in this case, I've added 3 images, and you see the names there, final 1, 2, and 3. So the image list will store those 3 images so that they can be used later by the picture box. And we can see that reflected in code, again in the designer, and here is the code that loads that image list. And so in that way, you can see how the image for the picture box is selected at design time, and the images for the image list are selected at design time. And a final way that you can bring in an image to either an image list or a picture box is to simply load the file and create a bitmap. So let's take a look at the code. And here you see an example of loading the image property into a picture box simply by pointing to or specifying the file name of the image. In the other cases, the picture box image was either set by image list 2 or image list 1. In addition, we have a timer, and we can see the properties for that. We'll select timer, and here are the properties for the timer object that I've created. And as you can see, the interval is 100, and that means the timer goes off every 100 milliseconds, or every 1/10 of a second. And we see the timer reflected in code. Timer1.start, of course, starts the timer, and timer1.stop stops it. So that's the use of the picture box in a C# application.